Greetings, flesh wound horror freaks, and welcome to a brand new special, George A. Romero Living Dead special. I'm Daniel Shine, joined as always by Todd Loya.
What's up?
Pugs Dread.
Namaste.
And our special guest, zombie expert, Chris McGibbon.
What's up, Chris?
Nada.
Ooh, talkative tonight.
No zombie apocalypse yet. I'm so disappointed.
All right, now.
It'd be fun if we did have zombies. 2020 is like just like give
they
us
would
zombies.
be starving because we're all brainless. Or at least most of us.
If we're gonna have an apocalypse, at least make it cool. I want zombies. I want space zombies. I want them to come from space.
I'm ready to fucking Mad Max this bitch, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm ready to break out the leather.
Hey, Dan, you know, I know you're just like randoming in that direction. Just come on.
I was fantasizing a cooler apocalypse. But anyways, speaking of apocalypse, there is a new from Second Sight, Dawn of the Dead, 4K limited edition set. And let's get right into it. Talk about the box set.
And
Chris?
a Blu-ray box set. Let's not forget that. They are available on both formats.
So Chris, did it live up to your expectations? It feels like long time coming.
I mean, yeah, it's a great set for the movie. I can't imagine anyone wanting more from it. Yeah, it looked and sounded fantastic. I was really, I guess I wasn't as blown away as I expected to be, but then I had to remind myself this is a movie from 1978. It wasn't going to be like super crystal clear, but there was a lot of.
No, I was gonna say you weren't. I was fucking blown away. The reds and the blood actually looking like blood. That just fucking blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of textures and details that I had never really paid much mind to before that I saw. I think just in the opening, I was like, oh, okay, this looks good. You know, then as the movie played, I was like, oh, okay, this does look amazing. This does look really good. The sound, I love that they included like 3 different sound options. So if you want to watch it in the original mono or in stereo or 5.1, a lot of companies are dropping those options. So I was grateful Second Sight didn't do that here. But yeah, I mean, I watched all 3 cuts. I thought they all looked great. They were pretty even, I was nervous about the extended cut because I know I know all of the extended footage was from a different master. They didn't use like a negative for that footage. So I thought there might have been like a picture quality like variant, you know, just even slightly, but I didn't notice any picture shifting at all, any picture quality shifting. So they did a bang up job on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't notice the footage difference either. I also watched all 3 cuts, and I think theatrical and extended look the best. The cans cut. I think I don't know if the 4K scan of the Argento cut is the same one used on the Italian DVD or Blu-ray or 4K. Either way, it still looks great. You can just tell doesn't match up exactly with the others, or at least it didn't to my eyes. But that looked great too. The commentaries, I did listen to the new one on by Travis Crawford. Which is more, it's not as technical as like the ones that have been ported from older releases, but it was very good listen. Not a lot of stuff I didn't know before, but I mean,
you're initiated, Todd. But it's still very informative.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. So if you're not, definitely check it out. And what other? I'm trying to. There was for the special features there was a few new documentaries, Zombies and Bikers, with John Amplis, Ray Fuchs, Tom Savini, Christina Forrest, and a few others. Memories of the Monroeville Mall, where a featurette on the Monroeville Mall. Raising the Dead, the production logistics. The new The FX of Dawn of the Dead with Tom Savini, Dummies, an interview with Richard France. And then there's a Lost Romero interview, which it seems like it was done at the time of the Dance of the Dead documentary on, I want to say it was Starz channel when Land of the Dead was coming out. So, but there's a ton of new features on it, and not to mention the soundtracks, which you have the Goblin one, the Wolf Library, which is like the public domain mall sounds, and well, actually 2 discs of that. So extra wise,
the shit is stacked. It's stacked.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
it's that fucking thick.
Yeah, and then you have the Document of the Dead, the definitive cut, and I know it was originally announced that it also had the original cut, but it's actually what I called like the midway cut, the one that was most prevalent on DVD and VHS, that has like the stuff with 2 evil eyes at the end, which I was really happy was included, because there's no, I mean, other than the DVD, there's no other release of it. So I thought that was really cool that version got included on something for once, instead of just definitive and the original theatrical version, which is, ends with Dawn of the Dead. So that was a big plus for me on that. But quality of the set was fucking awesome. I know, Chris, what do you think?
Actually, I was just while you were talking, I looked up the screen cap comparisons on Capsaholic of the European cut and in this version and in the Italian release, and they are different transfers.
Okay, that's good.
They're very you can tell. Actually, it puts the Italian disc to shame at this point. There's really no point in owning that now.
Well, that is good, but I still can tell the difference, because that's the actual, that's a scan of that print. So
it could be because it looks like, I think what they did, and I could be wrong, because I feel like what they did was they scanned the theatrical version in 4K, and then they scanned the other 2 versions with whatever materials were available, and a bulk of each transfer is actually that theatrical master.
It is,
and
but
they kind of edited it.
According to the press release, it's still produced using a 4K scan of the extended cut. No, okay, the 4K scan on the extended cut for that footage was from the reversal inner negative.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And then on the 4K scan of the Argento cut, it's the scan of the inner positive.
Okay.
It was done in Rome too. So I mean, different scanning houses. I don't want it to sound like I was thinking that the Argento cut looked bad. You can just tell it's different. Like, whereas the other one, you can tell it's like the same exact transfer, because it is the same exact transfer for the bulk of it. But yeah, so what do you guys think of the transfers on the films?
For me, this is like almost the best it's ever looked for me. I was able to see it at the big screen, on a big screen at the Egyptian.
I know, in 3D.
In 3D. I don't want to rub it in, Todd, but that was awesome. That's still my favorite experience for this movie. But
I know.
This is the cleanest I've ever seen the helicopter kill, the when he cuts off the zombie's head and it pours out. I was blown away by that. I'm like, I don't even need to watch the rest of the movie. This is fucking great. Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, it is amazing, because you would think the blood would be more fake looking, rather than more blood like. That was kind of amazing seeing that to me. I mean, because like I said, I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
It looked like more like the Italian thick red greenish blood, and now it looks. That's what blew me away on this one. Like, it looks like blood on me. I'd always heard it's supposed to, but I didn't know it actually did.
And it's 2008, I believe, was the last Blu-ray, so long time in the making, and it looks
last US one,
last US one. It's been,
I do want to say real quick.
That long?
Yeah, it's been a while. Real quick, it goes without saying 4K is region free, so if you grab this set, you can watch all the films. The extras disc is region B locked. For US, people, and the DVD or the Blu-ray box set is also region B locked. So you either need to be region free or grab the 4K if you have it.
Which
We're-
I honestly feel like a majority, if you collect physical media, especially Blu-rays still, like if you're still of that now kind of dying breed, you have a region free player. I really don't know anyone.
I don't have a region free one. I've been told it was so complicated. You have to do
No.
different parts.
I didn't say it was so complicated. I said you're going to get obsessed with collecting imports, and then you're going to be even broker than you are now. You know, like that's a whole.
Most has come out.
It's
in
a whole nother
fairness.
conversation. Yes.
Anyway, but yeah,
Real collectors.
Once the other
Wasn't
stuff
gonna
comes
say.
out, I'm going to want it. That's the issue.
I think the reason
that's
I
why-
even bought a
that's why I
region free player was because of Arrow's release of Zombie, but I've never looked back ever since. So
Yeah, it's funny looking at this set because I'd never seen the I've seen it, but it's been years and years since I watched the Argento cut. That's just not the cut that I usually went to.
And you know what? I rewatching it again because I visit that one every once in a while, especially if like I have less time. We'll just watch the Argento one. I think the lack of the library music and all Goblin music. I like that it breaks it up a little with the library music. And how do you cut out the helicopter spot in the movie? That
I never liked the cut, to be honest.
I
that's
still
not
like
my
it.
favorite.
No.
It's not
Favorite
here, but I do like that it's different. And there is little different bits in there throughout too. All three versions have different takes on different stuff, different
Yeah.
scenes that aren't in the other.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you want to be complete, you need to see them all.
Which we did. But my favorite is the theatrical one. I just love that one.
I like the pacing better on that, but I just grew up on the cans cut, the extended cut. But I can watch either one of those two without an issue.
Yeah.
My favorite cut of the movie is the one that they didn't include, is the super extended cut with everything in it, which is ironic because
What I was avoiding.
I for a long time this wasn't. I mean, it still isn't my favorite of the Dead movies, but it wasn't my go-to for one I wanted to watch. But I remember I went to the 40th anniversary at the mall a few years ago, and that was like a euphoric experience, just being with all these people that loved the movie as much as they did, being in the mall, seeing parts of the mall that hadn't been touched in 40 years that looked exactly the same. It felt like you were walking into the movie.
40th
Going
or
onto the
50th?
roof. 40th.
Oh, okay. So this is a while back. Okay. Oh no, you're on Dawn. Never mind.
It's just, you know what I was going to say? I remember
okay.
between that and seeing the extended mall hours cut, which was available in Germany.
Yeah.
I remember those two things combined is what like flipped you, which I always thought was weird because
Because it's, why would I want more of something I'm not a fan of? That
exactly. It's like, let's go with the one that's even longer.
It makes
Oh, I
it more
love it now.
complete. Yeah.
I think what I liked about it was I felt like the things that were missing, like things that bothered me, are missing in the theatrical version, and things that like, I don't know, like there's, I feel like there's obviously more to it in the extended cut. So like you get more character development, you get more of the tenement stuff in the beginning. You really get a much better sense of how bad things are getting in that longer cut, because in the theatrical cut, it's 30 minutes and they're at the mall and they're just kind of there and they're killing, and I don't know, the zombies don't seem all that threatening, but in that extended cut, it's like a good 45 minutes to, I think, almost, before they get there, and you can really kind of see how crazy things are getting. And it gives you more of a sense of like, this is, getting really bad. And I don't know. There was something about that cut. I just wish that cut would exist officially. It's only ever been a fan edit. So
Even though there was a German release, but sometimes they're not so official. But
yeah, I don't think that one was too official.
yeah, there's no version of Dawn of the Dead I can't watch. So I love them all, but
My least favorite is the Argento cut. I feel like it removes a lot.
Same.
Okay, so if we're gonna rate the box set, I'll just go first since we're not rating the other stuff, but I feel like the box set is gonna. I'm just gonna do 5. I mean, there's no other, 5 of 10, 5 of 5. There's nothing more I could ask for. okay, well, there's one little thing I could ask for, but since it's not official, it's not going to happen. But it's still 5 out of 5.
I'll go.
Chris?
I think it's a 5 too. Like it's everything you need for Dawn of the Dead.
Same.
It is a 5. Looks amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I figured it was going to be 5 all around. All
Have we
right.
shown
Well.
the box set yet?
Oh no, Chris, do you have it handy?
I do.
We were
busy.
busy.
Oh, he's got it.
Look at
Well,
that.
we were busy talking about it.
I wish I had
Yeah.
like a lazy Susan that I could spin it around on. You know, like really
Well, I did-
slowly.
Yeah. Well.
You know what was funny was when I saw everyone started getting their sets and posting them online, and then I saw a ton of people bitching that they hadn't gotten theirs because everybody ordered it from all over the place. It technically wasn't supposed to be sold in the U.S. There was a block on it. A few websites overseas actually canceled orders for U.S. orders,
Yeah, I heard that,
and people had to like scramble to find it somewhere else.
It wasn't
And,
necessarily that they were blocking it. One distributor in particular was blocking it. That's why a lot of companies didn't get it, but still places like Diabolic did because their distributor was still getting it. There was
Well-
a few places that still could get it.
there was somebody who didn't want it out here because
Oh, I
they
don't know who
didn't
that could be.
they didn't understand that 4K was region free when they, when the deal was made. So there was a long list of issues that could have possibly happened had it ever gotten over here, and obviously it is. But I do know that like the sites that blocked it or canceled people's orders used COVID as an excuse. They didn't say like we couldn't get it, because of X, Y, and Z. They basically just said due to the coronavirus, and one used like it was a shortage of product that they said it was can't, but other websites were still offering it for sale and still shipping. So it was obvious that like there were attempts made to stop it from getting over here, but it didn't work, obviously.
God bless
But,
those websites, because you know what they did? They said, "Face it, sucker. We're thieves and we're bad guys."
Right?
Send it out anyway.
Exactly what they did.
Do you think any
So-
odds you think it will come out in the U.S.?
Eventually, when someone's either a super money mark or someone in particular decides, well, maybe I'm overcharging this for this movie. So,
Well, I think at this point now that certain somebody is going to have to cave because nobody's knocking on their door for offers anymore, because now they're like there's essentially a region free set. What they should have done is they should have said, okay, I made this deal with Second Sight. We're going to make it an international release. It's going to be region free across the board, but now you've got to pay me more money. It just said pay me like another whatever amount they want, and then let them release it internationally and like up the amount of box sets they were making or something. They would have sold them. There wouldn't have been any problems. It would have sold. All right, so here's the set for the folks that are curious that don't have the set. I feel like anybody who's watching this already has the set, but anyway. So top comes off, and also I haven't checked the back of this out yet. I don't think there's anything on the back of it, but first time. Oh wait, I can't get this out. Yeah, nothing. Just black. Black on the back. All right.
isn't there text on one side?
There is. That's why I thought there might be something on the other side, because this is on the
Oh,
opposite
okay.
side. So I thought maybe they would have put an image back there. But it comes with a hardcover book, which has a couple of, not more than a couple of essays from different writers and authors about the movie and the effects of it and all that fun stuff. It also comes with the official movie novelization.
Nice.
So that's pretty badass. If you've never read, I actually did a book report on this in high school.
Hell yeah.
And then here's
Did you get an A?
I did. I wrote awesome.
Do you write
reports.
George and Romero before and after it?
And here's the inside of this. So you got the zombies in the parking lot at the mall, and one of my discs is missing because it is still in my player, but there's that there. And then this is the CDs. It's the same exact design. It's just 3 panels instead of
Very
4.
cool.
Now, this is nitpicky, and it's not a detriment. But one of the things that bothers me about this artwork is it looks far too modern for this movie. I really think they should have stuck with the 70s sort of advertising look. This is just like very. And what's also kind of annoying is none of these zombies, while they're the silhouettes of the zombies from the movie, they're not the zombies from the movie. Like that's very clearly the nurse zombie, but she's wearing a plaid dress.
If this was orange, it would look like it was for the remake instead of pink.
Right. So I mean, like this is really great. I love that art.
Yeah.
That's a really cool piece of art, and so was this. But this looks like the cover of a video game.
Yeah, I was gonna say I recognize it. I didn't know what from.
So I don't know. I mean, it's a minor complaint. I would say very minor, all things considering. But it was just something I noticed. Like I thought it was kind of funny that they didn't stick to the '70s kind of look and feel of the movie for the packaging design. So you know,
I really like the outer box and how thick it is and strong, and
Todd,
the image is awesome.
strong like bull.
Did you get an A for your Salo book report before we move on?
All right, now we're gonna just go straight to ranking best to worst. So, who wants to jump on this first? This will be interesting. I know some of your answers. I don't know others, but because this is, I think, the first time. Well, normally when people rate these, they talk about the 3 or even the 4, but we're gonna do all 7 of the Romero involved, including the remake, Dead films. So, who's chomping at the bits to go first?
Well, we'll tag in our special guest and get his.
You notice I asked who, and then Chris, like, I give Chris a sacrifice. I asked who wants to go first. And Chris, do you want to go first? Since
That's fine. I'll go first.
Yeah.
I've already been volunteered.
I know.
It's fine. So if I'm gonna, so we're just ranking them real quick, and then we're gonna discuss them.
Then we'll discuss.
Okay, all right. So just so I'm aware, so I don't go too far. Number 1, Day of the Dead with a Bullet, no question. Number 2, the Night of the Living Dead 1990 remake. Number 3 is Survival of the Dead. Number 4 would be Dawn. Now, see, Dawn's higher than it was. 5 is the original Night of the Living Dead. Nope. 5 would be Night of the Living Dead. 6 is Land of the Dead, and 7 is Diary of the Dead.
Wow.
All right, Dan.
Survival's higher than I thought there. All right, so best to worst. It's tough. I have flip-flopped on this many a times, but I'm going to say
much like your sexuality.
I could respond with something that's going to be like too dirty for them. I'm not going to. I'm going to be nice. I'm nice, Dan, tonight. All right. So on that note, the original Night of the Living Dead is timeless. I have to put that first. Then Dawn of the Dead, which I've often said is my favorite, but not tonight. Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead remake, then Land of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, and Diary of the Dead. Let's see if Diary actually moves up for somebody. Pugs, you gonna break the curse there?
Well, let's see. So my first is Night of the Living Dead OG. That's just a fucking masterpiece to me.
Yeah.
Second is Day of the Dead. I used to be a Dawn guy too for the longest time, but just one day it clicked. I'm like, yeah, I like Day of the Dead way better. Not taking anything away from Dawn, which is number 3. Then number 4 is Land of the Dead. Number 5 is the remake, the Savini one. And then 6 is Survival of the Dead, and 7 is Diary. So,
well, so far we've all been different, and to keep the trend going, mine are going to be totally different too. My favorite, and is Night a better movie? Yes, but there's been no other movie in my life that I did not want to end, or I wanted to be in that movie, and that was Dawn of the Dead. So that has to take my top for me. Followed by Night of the Living Dead 1968, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead 1990, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, Survival of the Dead.
you're crazy.
Wow.
That's cool though. They're honestly interchangeable on any given day, but
yeah, that's the thing. Like Dawn is always going to be top. Like before, it was Diary less, and now then Survival. They flipped. I don't know, but because Dawn's like one of my top 5 films. Period. It's hard not to be the top of the series. So, all right. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm kind of surprised that we were. I'm not, but I mean that we had two nights, one dawn
Yeah.
and one day. So
I mean, I always flip flop with dawn and night, but I think even 100 years from now, we're all dead. I still think Night of the Living Dead will be timeless. I really do. I just think that movie is perfect.
well, I mean, you could say that about all, especially right now. All of them are like fit perfectly with what we're going through right now.
Jesus, watching these movies during this time, yeah, I understand why we're all so stupid. Well, not all of us, but like
Right.
there's a lot of us that cause, like, you're the reason this is happening. I don't want to get too mean here, but I'm mad.
All right, well, I mean, if we just start real quick with Night, I mean, right off, I mean, there's so many parables.
Mhm.
So fucking something flying in front of me. So yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, Night of the Living Dead. I remember when I first saw it, and it hasn't lost its magic at all. I don't know if people in the future will relate necessarily to Dawn the same way, although I certainly love Dawn, but I think Night is much like Psycho. It's just, it doesn't age. It doesn't age, and who knows in the future, but I still feel I'll make that prediction. We'll all be old and gray, and people will still be watching it, talking about it. And you can kind of feel like, I'm not saying it's going to, new viewers, it's going to scare the crap out of them now, but it immediately captures your attention, and you can just imagine sitting in a theater and watching that in 1968 or 69, and like what you must have thought. Like, I wish I could experience it for the first time again. And anybody, for some weird reason, that hasn't watched it, make sure you watch it in black and white, because it really needs to be seen in black and white.
I will co-sign that, because this is the first time I checked out a colorized version, and it just loses something.
It does.
Yeah. My favorite time I've ever seen this, of the first Night of the Living Dead, was at the Egyptian again. I've been lucky enough to see all three Romero masterpieces in that place. That was the first 4K transfer, and it was fucking gorgeous. I didn't realize how bloody that movie actually is until I saw that.
Didn't we go see Day of the Dead there too?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes, we did with
'cause
George Romero there.
Yeah, that we were. Weren't you? You were there too.
I was there, and we didn't know each other then. Or else it'd been fucking awesome.
I think we did, but
No, I didn't know. I don't know.
What year was that, Chris?
Whenever
That was 2000
when the vinyl,
when Mondo did it.
14, 15, something like that, because
it's close.
It was like later that year.
Yeah, I think I recognized you, but I don't. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't say anything. I would say what's up.
Yeah, I was with Chris.
I was too busy fanboying over George.
Oh, that's right, because we were with that guy. You want to tell that story? We'll save that for when we start.
No, I don't, because if he's a really nice guy, and if he listens to the show, watches the show, I'm going to feel terrible.
Well, shout out to Sling Blade. We love you, Billy Bob.
He was the only one that came to hang out with me when I was sick. You took off and left me fucking home.
Where did I go?
Yeah, Todd.
You and Bethany went out.
Oh, well,
I was getting over that stomach thing, and you guys were like, "Yeah, he'll be fine on the couch. He's good." And then he came over and hung out with me, so I wasn't by myself.
I had to take the wife out. It was Saturday night.
Fucking priorities, man.
All right, so anything about Night you want to throw in there, Chris?
I mean, I enjoy Night of the Living Dead a lot. Ranking these is the only one that I think that I really don't like is Diary. I mean, Night I do think is a classic horror film. I'm not so sure about the timeless part of it. I think the one for me is gonna really transcend and become the timeless one is going to be Day, because Day just it's not like inherently 80s when you watch that movie. You don't feel like it really takes place in any given time. Night and Dawn are very 60s and 70s. They feel like they came out in that era, but Day just kind of transcends that a bit. But anyway, but I know I think Night's fantastic. The Criterion Blu-ray is the way to go all the way. I mean, it's a gorgeous. But then again, if you want it looking kind of grimy and nasty, there's a Mill Creek Blu-ray that looks it's from a beat up 16 millimeter print. So if you want something that's a little more less pretty.
Do you think there's anybody that owns every version of Night of the Living Dead? Because there's got to be like 200 different sets, or I would love.
I'm sure there are people that I know those people that collect it, that they buy different editions because it was released so many times. It's kind of like a badge of honor to say you have.
But the thing is, it's hard because there's so many bootlegs of it. Well, then they weren't bootlegs; they were PD titles.
Mm-hmm.
So there's gonna be some somewhere that you don't know about. I used to see like VHS tapes of this in dollar stores of even dollar DVDs. It's
yeah, I remember
all
seeing
over the
those at the 99-cent store. I was like, what? I bought like the entire thing. I started giving it up for Christmas. I waited and they were stocking stuffers.
Stocking stuffers, yeah.
Yeah. And they came in cool little packages, kind of like envelopes. I fucking love those things.
But
They still do though. Once in a while, you'll see them at like Kmart. They'll have like just the sleeves.
Kmart.
Kmart. Where the fuck is there a Kmart?
Apparently, there's one in.
They still exist.
Atlanta.
Well,
barely.
pre-plague. But yeah, it's funny you make that point about Dawn because I love Dawn so much, but I could see that in the future. You know, what is a mall? Why can you buy guns there? It's very alien to people.
One, you can't buy guns at a mall. Even then, that was like shot somewhere else, but you just don't think about it. Even though it's funny because some people will say it was shot in the mall. I think Chris Romero's one that always says it was, but she must be Mandela-ing herself because it's been stated numerous times. One, Pittsburgh has super strict gun laws, and there was no way it would be in the mall. I think that's the same with the liquor stuff too, but that's a whole night thing. I think the argument of the mall being the reason it's not timeless is bullshit because you can say the same thing about Night of the Living Dead because there's stuff in there. You think fucking kids are going to know what a radio is? I mean, there's still stuff in there
that's a drastically different. And I hate siding with Dan, but
I'll
radio. One element of the movie is not the whole plot. There's a radio. But
let me ask you this: do people know what shopping is?
No, they think shopping is going online.
Well, no, but you still know you can go to a store and buy stuff. I mean, so the fact that there's not malls anymore, you could set this in a Best Buy and it's no different. I'm saying there's still people will.
I'm not shitting on the movie. I
know. I'm saying, but your logic, it's like they still will comprehend what that is, even if they don't go to malls anymore. And most malls are now outdoor malls. They will know what it is to go to a place and shop that has a bunch of different stores. Because outdoor malls are still a thing. They don't call them malls anymore. What do they call them? Like
shopping centers.
Yes. So I think as long as that's around, people are. It's the same thing. There's going to be something that dates everything. It's just if the story's good. And with the first three, I think the stories they're all timeless. They all work and they're all different. I can see the others falling by the wayside, but I don't see the first three. I can see people already forget about Land of the Living or Land of the Dead when you talk about it's still the trilogy. People don't talk about the Six
Well, I think in fairness, the reason Land of the Dead gets forgotten is because it was made so long after Day of the Dead was, and people just sort of it just doesn't feel like it belongs as part of those three movies. It's such a different movie, effects wise, look wise, tone wise. Like there's just the zombies look like real walking corpses. They're not blue and gray like they were in Day and Dawn. There's kind of you kind of saw a progression of how far along things were going in those movies, and Land just stands out as being like, oh, these people are they're brown and they're pale, so they look like that they've died recently. They don't look like they've been dead for 30 years and roaming around. So because they're not blue or black or gray.
I've always kind of wondered this. Do you think that the fact that they were, because they had to know, and I know they were done around the same time, but the fact that Return of the Living Dead, though they were going the way they were going with their makeup, you think that made Romero and team up their makeup for Day?
No, I think that they were always. I think he wanted that to be his opus because he was being allowed. He was given creative freedom to do what he wanted to do. I know. I've actually heard stories that while they were making Return of the Living Dead, some of the effects people let crew members from like Day of the Dead fabricate some stuff in their shop. Like there was no like animosity between effects.
I didn't
crews or
even
anything
mean
like that.
I didn't even mean that, but like you're hearing, oh well, they're gonna do that. Well, shit, we're gonna do this. That kind
Well,
of
no,
thing.
because I think the effects in Return of the Living Dead were such a mess that there wouldn't have been any way for anyone to figure out what exactly they were doing because Bill Munns was fired midway through production, and then like all the zombies in Return of the Living Dead except for the main ones are basically hidden behind mud and glass. They don't really see real clear shots of the background zombies. Even you just get the featured zombies makeups
Yeah.
clearly. So I
Well,
don't think that one really affected the other in that way.
Okay. I just want to get your take on that. Okay, well, we brought up Land.
Yeah.
So you think if we would have got that in the 90s, it would have worked better?
No. Well, see, the problem with Land for me, I mean, it's a perfectly fine zombie film that bleeds together, unfortunately, with a lot of zombie films. Because by the time we got Land, we're hitting that era where we start getting a ton, zombie.
So then my question is, wouldn't it been better in the 90s? And you're giving reasons why.
No, well, no, because again, I don't know the political subtext. I'm not sure exactly what you would have done. I could have seen it being the same issue where Dennis Hopper is kind of sort of George Bush, Dick Cheney. It would have just been Bill Clinton. I don't know. We get a stained breath zombie or
Party
something
time.
running around. Right? It wouldn't have been. I don't know if there was enough to mine in the 90s. I mean,
the zombie with the dress stain would have been worth it.
It would have been. But the 90s were, it would have been fun, but I don't know. The 90s were kind of, I mean, I don't want to say good for everybody, but the 90s things were booming a little bit.
There was nothing like, LA riots or fucking cities burning. There was nothing. There was nothing good to touch upon,
It was a better time.
You could have, well, yeah, in comparison, it was a better
considering
time.
Romero pretty much always has a black lead, so wait, a lead with a black guy and
I don't
LA
think it
riots.
It'd be funny. Rodney King,
right?
We had, well, Land of the Dead. We had 9/11. We're fresh off 9/11, and it just didn't work. I mean, everything in that was just so. Oh, okay. I see what they're doing. It's not that clever. I mean, the movie's fine. Watching it again, I'll be honest, Land was weaker this time than ever before because I used to defend it.
I was hoping it was one of those ahead of its time, and that this time when I watch it, it would finally be like, okay, well, because all the other ones, it took people a few years to get with the program. So am I wrong or is Dan wrong? Did you guys, change? I don't know your original opinions.
I liked it a little less this time. I used to like it a lot. Same thing with Survival and Diary. I was always defending them. Oh, there's not that bad. Yeah, they are. But Land of the Dead, even though I think less of it now, I still think it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the characters were very well. They probably never were, but
naming John Leguizamo Cholo was probably not a good idea. And that's coming from me.
I feel like you could have done. I mean, the elements were there. I think there was something interesting going on with him, but when he turns and goes for Hopper, you would think there'd be like some. It's not the same as like Bub picking up the gun in Day. The emotion there is not the same. It's not going to do the same for a generation. And a lot of people, honestly, look, The Jump, there were a lot of people that saw Land of the Dead and then visited the others. I mean, Land of the Dead's what, 15 years old
I think more people just thought this was a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, the remake.
That's true. But at least they got him there.
Yeah. I still remember the chills watching the first trailer The
Oh,
first trailer, the
when they
one
walk
that
out of the
actually,
water.
well, no, the one that uses it starts off with the footage of Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Living Dead and Day of the Living Dead, saying first he brought you this, that, and this.
What the fuck is Dawn of the Living Dead and Day of the Living Dead? I've never heard of those.
Oh shit!
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I added the Living Day of the Dead and God damn it, and Dawn. Whatever. When it started off with those trailers, before that certain someone we mentioned earlier made them pull the footage.
Yeah, the cocksucker. But the one I remember is Big Daddy fucking coming out of the water, and I'm like, zombies coming out of the water. That's fucking cool.
Eugene Clark is such a nice guy. If you've ever met him, he's really
Yeah.
even if you don't like land, he's a good conversation. Do you think the zombies were able to do a little bit too much? There were certain
Well, no,
points
that was
where
the,
it's like,
that was the progression of the whole series, though.
yeah, but all of a sudden it's like there's certain things like one-on-one fighting with like
No,
I don't know.
I think
It's-
Todd's right here because in Dawn of the Dead, when they go to the mall, like, oh, it's because they remember, and then they further that with Bub saluting and shooting and shaving, and now Homeboy here over here is trying to pump gas in a non-existent car. Like, yeah, it makes sense. Over time, they'll develop the muscle memory and come back.
Yeah, and them using weapons was nothing new. I mean, little Karen kills her mom with a trowel in Night of the Living Dead. She very immediately goes for that. She doesn't like look. It's not like she stumbles upon it and picks it up. She makes a beeline for it and then stabs her mother to death. So they've never. It's not like they've never used some type of a weapon before.
Could it have evolved to the point where their intelligence is like back and they're communicating, or do you think that would just be too much and they're just not zombies anymore? Like,
well, that's kind of what they were doing. They were communicating in their own way. It was like they were developing their own society. Because even there's a point in the movie after they kill all of the soldiers where Big Daddy lets out his moan and they all stop eating and start following him again. It's almost like he's like, we don't need to eat, like it's like we can just keep moving and go after the people that fucked us, because in a way it's kind of a revenge story. Like the only reason Big Daddy's going after the people is because they came into his town and fucked up half the community, so it's kind of
I don't know if that's a message or something.
yeah. I don't know. I was like this close to putting Survival above it, but I didn't. I still, if I had to watch one, I'll still watch Land of the Dead. But
all right, well, then let's just go into when Romero rebooted his own franchise with basically starting it over with Diary of the Dead, which apparently, other than me, is everyone's least favorite. But you know what? No, yeah, we're gonna save the remake versus other stuff for last because we have some sub questions on that one. Would you guys? Yeah, okay. Why do you guys hate Diary of the Dead, or why do you like Diary of the Dead of the least?
Well, it is the weakest, first off, and like I don't really care for those damn characters. They were all annoying. I'm like, George, what are you doing? Usually, I like at least two of these motherfuckers. Fuck all these kids.
I didn't. My issue with Diary has always been the in every one of Romero's movies, and even including Land, there's subtext in there. There's some type of political subtext going on, and it's subtext. It's not the main focal point of the movie. It's not even the main plot of the movie. In Diary of the Dead, maybe this was part of the subtext, and we're all just not understanding what it was. But he was beating us over the head with if it didn't happen on camera, it's like it never happened, right? And I'm like, if I heard that girl say that one more time, I was like, yo, we get it. Like, there's, the message is very clear in this movie. You don't need to spell it out for us. I also felt like the found footage angle was a really cool approach, but then a movie called Zombie Diaries did it infinitely better. It was just it felt more authentic. Diary felt like a studio produced film that didn't need to be found footage. It was just kind of an angle that they were trying to explore versus like it being a stylistic choice that was focal to the plot. It just didn't. And I actually go with Pugs. I think all of the characters were really fucking annoying. I mean, the only character there was two characters I kind of liked was the professor and the Amish guy. Samuel, I think was his name.
Do you think that if you removed Romero's name, is it a decent movie for you? Like if it just you could clear it out that you had those huge expectations, does it play okay?
I probably
for you?
wouldn't be as harsh, but I don't think I would like it any more than I do.
Actually, to be honest, I think I would like it less.
Oh, really?
I think I really think it would annoy me more. I think because it's Romero, there's some stuff in there that I don't completely hate, but because if it was somebody else doing that, I'd be like, no, you guys fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I still there are some shots in there that I like, but yeah, it's not. It's actually gotten, I think, even worse. I think when I first saw it, it wasn't a super positive review, but I remember saying, "Oh, it's not that bad. You just have unrealistic expectations," because he made 3 of the all-time best horror movies. So it's kind of hard to match that. But watching it now, much like Land, I mean, it's
this is just
great.
saying you need to shoot zombie movies in Pittsburgh, not Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, because even though Land isn't part of this feels like its own trilogy because they all have a similar feel and they're so close together. That kind of works against the whole Romero one a decade thing. But
I've said before that I feel like, and I know it's not the case, but I feel like if you watched Diary, Survival, and Land, that would be a trilogy because there's that one character played by Sean Roberts, and there's also the soldier from Survival. Those 2 characters are both in Land of the Dead. And the soldier is still a soldier, and Sean Roberts is still a young, naive sort of kid, in both. And so you could almost thread those movies together better than you could thread Night, Dawn, Day, Land. Also, too, in Land, there's technology that didn't exist around the time that like Dawn and Day happened.
I'm surprised you didn't bring that up earlier because I
didn't really get to talk. I really didn't get to talk about Land actually, but they're like the flat screen TVs. Like I remember seeing that in the theater and going, they shouldn't have flat screen TVs. This started in 1970 something. Because even in Day of the Dead, like there's no technology that didn't exist prior to like the 70s. Even like the tape recorder is an old tape recorder. It's not like it's a Walkman from like 1983. It's just a
but at some point when you're restarting the world and like live like they are, don't you just have to start restarting to make things? I mean,
yeah, but who's out there making flat screen TVs?
No,
like,
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like who's creating computer generated effects to put on these flat screen TVs? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's stuff that just didn't. It took me and furthermore, what grocery store 30 years after the apocalypse has anything worth rating?
That is true.
You know what I mean? Like, so it definitely feels like that it's starting sooner than, or at a different, I know they're all supposed to kind of take place in their own time frames and they're not necessarily connected, but it's like, I remember watching that going like, this doesn't feel like this is after Dawn or Day of the Dead where the world was effectively fucked, and there was nothing left.
And that's you're right. That's why it would make a perfect ending to the other 2 films because the technology makes sense. But so what'd you think about Survival, Chris? I know you.
Survival, I actually, I when I first saw it, I really enjoyed it, and revisiting it, I enjoyed it even more. It was actually Romero's second favorite of the 2 of the zombie films. It was he's the one that he hoped that people would see that one in 30 years and go, I see what you're trying to do. I really like that one. It's got a good mix of like slapstick comedy, which I think turned some people off, but it was lighter fare than Diary. Like Diary just tried too hard to be serious and wasn't really like, there wasn't really anything funny about it except for the Amish guy. Land of the Dead was kind of had a couple of humorous moments, but not that I need comedy to enjoy him, but it just seemed like he was going for a more like fun sort of sleek movie versus trying to create something dark and bleak. And I don't know, I just had a great time with it. I think it's great. And I like the ideas behind it too of because I think there would be people out there. It's funny because in Walking Dead, it touches on what Herschel wanted to do. Herschel was corralling these zombies in his barn, thinking eventually someday there would be a cure and these people could be saved. So he wasn't killing them. So it's along those ideas of like, maybe something more can be done with them versus just killing them. Maybe there is something there that we can resurrect and bring back. They're not completely gone,
Mhm.
and I think that's a really cool theme and a really cool idea. And I like the two families feuding. It's a much smaller scale film, which I think really helped it. It doesn't feel like he was, had a huge budget behind it, so it felt more intimate. You felt like he was getting more of what he wanted to do. I really did. I have a lot of fun with that one. I think it's underrated for a lot of people.
It stands out as being its own unique thing. It doesn't feel like any other Dead movie, and that's a big positive. Like I said, I was really close to putting it above Land of the Dead, but I don't know. I would say, considering all the movies he made, that only one was bad. That's a pretty good record for me. I mean,
What's the one bad one?
Diary.
Oh, of all of his movies or of the Dead movies?
Of the Dead movies, although to be honest,
Okay.
Romero's got a
I was gonna
pretty
say you said
solid
all of them.
record compared to some of the other masters. I'm not going to defend everything, but he never. I mean, again, I love Toby Hooper, but he never sunk to those levels.
Well, Bruiser doesn't get enough love, but one that kind of goes with this a little, and we'll touch real quick. The Crazies. I know I just rewatched it. Pugs rewatched it, and that's one that, like, right now, even more than the Dead stuff, it is so exactly what's going on in the world right now.
It's extremely frustrating.
It is. I mean, I know everyone's seen the Crazies. I've always been a fan of it. That's always been like that. Just feels like it's part. It's like right in between his other stuff. I probably like that better than anything after Day of the Dead. Yeah, but I don't know, Pugs. I know you had a couple things you wanted to bring up with Crazies.
No, real quick, let me get back to Survival. I just like the fact that it took place on an island, because that idea was introduced in Dawn. It was like, where are you going? The island. What island?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then we see what happens or what could happen there.
Wherever there's food.
Yeah, I would like more of that. Yeah, so I thought that was cool, but I movie's just okay. But yeah, Diary's the worst for me.
I also like the idea. I wish he could have done because he had two other movies planned after Survival, where the third movie was going to follow the girl from Diary who takes off in the RV, and the fourth movie was going to follow that town that the characters get into in Diary of the African American kind of culture that took it over.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that idea of, instead of making sequels, you make these sort of paths off to different characters. In the first movie, the core group of characters sort of ran into, and now you get to see their story and where they came from. Like that moment in Survival when the soldiers run into the kids from Diary, you're like, oh my god, these are the same people. Now we get to find out what happened to them. I just thought that was a really cool idea. I would have loved to have seen that come to fruition. I think it would have been really cool to see more of what he could have done with those two ideas.
You know what might have been interesting after Land is and it would be challenging and easy to screw up, but do it completely from the POV of the zombies. The humans are just the threat, and you just follow a group of zombies.
That sounds kind of gimmicky.
Yeah, I think it could actually be pretty good. There wouldn't be a lot of dialogue, obviously, but
I think to a certain extent, Land sort of did that. Big Daddy was just as much of a main character as any of the main characters were.
Yeah, but completely, you're just focusing on that is the lead. You know what I mean? It would have been kind of cool to see that after Land.
I would have liked to have seen a movie with Bub being the lead. That would have been fun.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There's enough intelligence there, and you can kind of build on that. And yeah, obviously Bub's very sympathetic. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we won't get it now, but it's a shame Cameron Romero isn't on par with his dad, because all right.
we're going to do this one two-part because I believe when Dan asked this question, it was who had the better survival plan, Mr. Cooper or Ben? Right.
Okay.
So we'll do that, and then we'll do the overall who you think had the best. Like if you think someone from a different one had a better plan. So
I'm sorry. Before we get into this, are we really not going to discuss Day of the Dead? Did you just skip over my movie?
No, I didn't. We were talking about everything as we went, and I figured it would come up again. But if you would like to,
okay,
but
okay,
but
okay, all right. It
Well,
seemed like we were going from movie to movie, and then we
kind of were, but then we kind of jumped around a bit. So, but if you want to, if there's anything you want to talk about Day before we do this, because normally we get like other stuff coming out as we go.
Let's do Day.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
We can do Day.
Why would you say Day is your favorite?
Yeah, let's just do that.
And was it always your favorite? I can't remember if it was like from
Day
one. Yeah.
Yeah, Day's always. It's been my favorite horror movie since it was the first horror movie I ever remember seeing. It's always been my favorite. I've never. My love for Day has never waned ever. I've never not had a copy of it on some format. I've never. I mean,
I remember how mad he was when that second Anchor Babe DVD came out.
yeah, because the audio was fucked up. Yeah, they messed up the audio. Well, you know what? In fairness, it wasn't their fault that the audio was fucked up. It was the movie was mixed in the U.S. in mono, and the only way to get a stereo track was from Japan because that was the only country it was mixed in. But in Japan, they edited the audio so that they took out some of the racial slurs and some of the swears.
Dan was so pissed.
They had to go in and like redub, but they didn't get the actors or anybody who sounded like the actors to come in and dub the lines over again. So it was pretty obvious that like there was a white guy pretending to be Jamaican a few times, and I was like,
Dan,
y'all.
how's that sound?
I don't remember.
He goes boom, boom, boom.
He made the first wrestling reference, Todd.
But you brought attention.
But yeah,
sorry.
But what's actually funny is not funny, but right when Corona was starting, before Massachusetts went into our lockdown, was right before my birthday, and so I had a couple of friends over, and we watched Day of the Dead, and that scene where John has a speech about what's going on and why things are the way they are, like the entire room was just still, like everyone was like, holy fucking shit, because we were about to go into something that we didn't know what was going to happen, and I remember us talking to one of those people recently and saying, did you think the last time we hung out was going to be the last time? I haven't seen them since March. And they were like, no, I thought this was going to be over in 2 weeks, and here we are almost a year later, we're still dealing with it. And that entire movie just had such poignancy going through all of this, like, and being like, this is how bad things could get. Well, we're going to be relying on soldiers living in bunkers with, scientists to develop a cure while the rest of the world suffers,
We're about to Day of the Dead at this point. We've gone through it.
Right? We're almost there. Yeah, we're almost there. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Day just has this unbelievable way of just growing with every new generation. I think 85 was the wrong year for this movie. You had Return of the Living Dead, Reanimator, Fright Night, Demons. Those were all very successful horror films. They all had elements of comedy and action, and were kind of uplifting to a certain degree, or at least like fun. So like, you didn't feel like, even though Return of the Living Dead, spoiler alert, everybody dies, you don't feel bad when the movie's over. You're not like, oh my God, that's terrible, they all died. You're like, oh yeah, it's party time. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really feel like it's a sad ending. But Day of the Dead is like, it's fucking bleak and depressing. It shows how raw and how ugly humans can be in a situation where hope is gone and all that's left is people that can't see eye to eye on anything. So all they're doing is screaming at one another to try to get out of whatever situation they're in, and it's not doing anyone a bit of good. And the only hope they have is a fucking zombie who has more humanity than most of the characters in the movie. So
I think not that Corona is the zombie apocalypse, but if we had the zombie apocalypse, it would go Wild West pretty quick. I think it'd be fairly accurate. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. It
But-
pretty much already is, though, Dan. So
Humanity is a letdown.
No, not yet. It can get worse. Is all I'm saying. We don't have zombies, but
That would make it cool.
I'd rather have zombies than idiots. So what are you gonna say?
Well, Todd, I want to ask you something
Okay.
because you were around when this movie came out. Has your view on it changed from when you first saw it to now, or did you always like it?
I've always enjoyed it. But I think it was less zombie stuff then. I don't know. No, I've always really liked it. It definitely has, like, as I've aged, it's gotten better because I'm getting more than I was when I was like 10. So with all of these, like all three, it was like, oh, okay, they're cool movies. And as you get older, you kind of see more in every one of them. And well, and that's why Dawn's always my default, because it's still one of the only movies I wanted to be in or never wanted to end. It's just so much fun. And but Day, it's bleak, it's dark. They're all different, like different films. So it's like whatever mood you're in, you can kind of like, oh, I want to watch that one, or I want to watch that one. But there is something notable, and I don't know if anyone's noticed. What does Dawn of the Dead have different than all of the other ones? It does not have a human antagonist. And I'm not counting the bikers that show up, but every other one you have someone as your bad guy, not just the zombies. It's the only one that lacks that, which makes it a little different than the rest. So,
if you had to pick at what movie to survive in, do you have one like in your head, like, okay, I think I do better in this movie versus
that feels like a question we'll get into a survival plan. I mean,
kind of, but not necessarily.
Okay, well then ask your question, Dan.
I did.
Okay, well
I did.
It was Dan. I wasn't paying attention, so I'm gonna say ask it again.
Which one would you personally feel you could survive better in? That doesn't have anything to do with a plan. That's just you.
I know Dan just likes to throw questions out that we actually have to think about. So
I'll answer. I'll go Dawn.
You see, I wouldn't, because I think a mall would be such a target, but I don't know.
No, they got too flashy with it. If they would have just stuck in their little cubby hole, would have been all right.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I would have went to the Winchester. So
I think I'd be an island guy. I think that's like the best. You could clear that a lot easier. I don't know, but that's
also super small. You got hurricanes to worry about. I'm a city boy. I'm gonna stick with my mall.
Yeah, high rise. Just go fucking chill in there
until the zombies realize, and like they do in Land, they don't need to breathe underwater. Then that entire island is like, oh look, zombies coming out of every part of the shore now.
We almost got rid of Dan. All right. Well,
be eating my coconuts and you will all be dead. So,
well, let's try this again. Okay, gentlemen, who had the best survival plan? We'll start with, what was it, Ben and Mr. Cooper? That's what Dan wants. Okay, Dan, since that was your idea, kick it off.
I'm going to throw it out there. I love Ben. I love the character, but I don't think he had the best survival plan at all. Because in a situation like that, and you have to understand, obviously, in the movie world, they don't know what zombies are. Your best bet would be to hold up as long as you can, hope that the situation would be resolved. And yeah, I think Mr. Cooper, particularly in the original, had pretty sound strategy.
That's because you're a coward, but right on.
Yeah, but what? Okay, so you get to the car and you get away. You have no idea. You could just around the corner. It could be worse. I don't think that was the best way to go about it. You could drive right into a clusterfuck.
His plan, though, because I'll go with mine. Mine is Ben. I think he had the better plan. His plan included a backup plan, which was, I'm not going down there until it's absolutely necessary. He wants to move forward and closer to safety. But that was still part of his plan. So that's the reason why I went with Ben.
And that's, and that is exactly what I was going to say, Pugs, because it was part of it. So it's like Dan gets like the chicken chip plan without any of the other.
But there's a flaw. They can bring the zombies into that house by staying up there and be seen. If you go down there and you're quiet, they're probably not going to get into the house. I mean, they're
But
not-
then how? But then you're just stuck there.
Yeah.
well, yeah, once they actually come in, but you're gambling. You're gambling no matter what.
No.
But you're down there.
I
They
like a
can't get-
backup plan, so that's why I'm Ben. Yeah,
I go Ben. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, Mr. Cooper's plan fucking works because
not arguing.
his plan was to sit there and just wait and be a little bitch about it. But you know,
Sometimes
that
being
was
a
the
little bitch.
last resort. I'm with that because, like, I would like to see what's coming at me. I want to know if I should go. I like options. So that's just
And
Mr.
which wouldn't have
He had a
been.
daughter to protect too. Yeah,
you know, honestly though, like, this is the asshole part of me. I would have killed everybody in the house. I'm not worried about them. I have no attachment to these fucking people. Fuck them.
we take Pugs out immediately.
Well,
then.
look, you guys would be different. I know you. I care for you.
Don't go off alone.
If it's these fucking random family, this bald asshole's giving me all kinds of shit. I'm like, okay, next time he turns around, I'm stabbing him in the neck.
It was their
Yeah,
first too. Poor
He
man.
cares
know
about
what.
us now. He cares about us now until we're on the last bag of ginger snaps, and there's still 4 of us left.
No. That would have to be something pumpkin spice. Then it would be. But
What about you,
all right,
Chris?
Chris.
What? Honestly, I mean, Cooper's plan is the one that worked at the end of the day, and I understand it was sort of a backup plan. But one of the things the remake actually touches on that the original doesn't, because the original, the zombies just sort of show up to the house, and there was really no rhyme or reason for them kind of coming around. Because the house is in the middle of nowhere. At least that's the impression you get. In the remake, it's all of the noise. They have that one shot of the female zombie walking by the house, hearing the noise and turning and walking towards it to be like, hey, all this noise they're making is actually attracting the zombies. So in Dan's defense, he's right. If they were quiet and they kind of hung out in the basement, they all would have been fine. Granted, the daughter still would have turned into a zombie, and she probably would have killed a few of them. But it would have. They wouldn't have known that. No, there's no way for them to learn it. But I do see where Todd and Pugs are coming from, where Ben's backup plan was the basement. But then again, a backup plan is something you do if your plan fails. So if his plan was going to fail, if he was so sure that his plan was going to work, he shouldn't have needed a backup plan. Whereas Cooper's only plan was basement, it's safe. He didn't need a backup plan. It was just, let's just hold up here until help comes. And I mean, realistically, help came the next morning. There were search parties going through, and they knew about it. Once, yeah, I know. But once they saw on like the news station, oh, there's like rescue teams and stuff like that. Why don't we really just go downstairs and wait till tomorrow morning? They're in the area. They're going to pass through here and see a house, and these things are all over the place outside. So they're going to stop here to take care of them. We'll make lots of noise then, and then we're saved. Just doesn't happen. So I think I'm gonna. It's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, because like I do feel like if I was in a situation where I was trapped with a bunch of people, I'd want to get out of it. But also at the same time, it's sort of the Dawn of the Dead mindset, where even Steven has a conversation with Fran as we have everything we need here and we're safe. Why would we want to leave? Why would you want to get out of that situation into a possibly worse situation by leaving the place that you're safe?
To get
to a better one.
Doing this
but you won't know that until you get there.
It's a gamble.
But you don't. But you also don't know if it's going to be safe leaving. And in night, the zombie, well, the ghouls or the zombies, whatever you want to call them, they don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know why it's happening. They don't know, how far spread it is. If it's just central to the area they're living in, or if it's outside of there, if it's worldwide. It's just there's so many uncertainties that you would feel like, okay, if we have a place that we know we're safe, even if it's just for now, we're safe for now, and our only hope is to get to another safe place. But at least let's wait until it's light outside to make that kind of a decision.
Exactly.
Why try to go out in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere?
Well, I did discover one thing. Me and Pugs can be zombie apocalypse buddies, and Dan and Chris, you guys.
You would be dead.
But no, like I said, I'm 50-50 because, like I said, but my only reason I think
because we're minority and the same thing would happen.
The only reason I think Ben's plan is a little flawed is because he did need a backup plan.
Yeah,
like I said, a backup plan is something you have in case your plan falls through.
But if it's still,
I
get you
out is kind of the backup plan, really.
All right, so we're split on this one. Now let's go. Who had the best survival plan of the series? Whose did you like best?
Well, once again with me, done. They got them all.
I'm 100% the mall.
The mall is so flawed, though. I rate it and get out, because that is going to be a target. You're going to have bad people in any apocalyptic scenario.
I'm going to be one of them.
You know what?
There you go. Then look out for Pugs, because he's going to come with the machete and he's going to start killing everybody.
We already got our cuts ready to go.
But a mall, like I've heard people like, oh, I would hold up in a grocery store. It's like, you're going to have a car. I would just drive my fucking car right into the grocery store, which would be no problem. It's the worst place.
Your pop tires.
Okay, thank you, Dan. But what's your pick? Just not just run that everyone else's.
My pick.
Dan's gonna eat a bullet at fucking day one.
I think my pick, knowing how to fish, you get to an island / boat, so survival.
So when they walk up, you're cool. So,
well, you don't. Again, you're imagining stuff you don't know. You're imagining stuff you don't know.
Oh, kind of like
if it's an isolated island, even if they learn to swim, it's unlikely they would get.
We already established they know they can walk underwater by Land of the Dead, so they're gonna figure that out eventually.
But you still have, I think, a better shot. I do. I just think you'd have a better shot.
You just want to go to Epstein Island. You know what? Yeah. You may have changed my mind.
What is yours? I'm curious.
I've got Epstein as sub now.
Underground.
No, because the underground bunker, I think, I mean, it obviously worked in terms of they survived, but they were miserable down there. I mean, if you want to be, stuck underground and be, never seen.
Can you imagine the four of us stuck in a bunker?
No, I can't actually.
I think it'd be okay for like a day or two, and then I don't know which one of us would strangle Dan.
Well, if Kruger was there,
yeah. Honestly, like I think. I mean, I want to say that it would be my of the John, Sarah, and McDermott take off to an island to get and it's so they seem pretty happy on the island. But I don't know if I'd want to be on an island because, like I said, they can walk. They know they can go underwater. But the mall is kind of a target. The house is definitely a terrible idea. That didn't work out for anybody in any movie. Diary, they locked themselves in a panic room. Land of the Dead, they just drive away. I don't know. They all kind of suck. None of them really have a great survival plan.
None of them worked, but
right. Honestly, I feel like I would. Honestly, I think I would go with what they do at the end of Land. I think I'd want to stay mobile. I don't think I'd want to stay in one place for too long, because their plan is to head up north, where there really isn't, and zombies technically in colder climates wouldn't be able to exist, or the colder climate would be harsher on their bodies, so they probably wouldn't stick around in those areas, or they'd be frozen up popsicles, just frozen statues. So I probably would do what they did in Land and stay mobile and go up north.
I'm going to be in a tropical setting. I'll be like Tarzan in that island. I'd be living so much better than you guys. Just saying.
Again, Dan, you're eating your own bullet day one.
Pretty much.
No, I think I'd go out.
Yeah, I'm going to an Alaskan mall. Just it's cold out there; they won't get in. I can
an Alaskan mall. Wait a minute, you can't change. That.
I'm doing it, or a Canadian mall.
What's actually
good for a few days, but
what's actually kind of funny is Dawn of the Dead. They shot the movie around December, so there's some Christmas stuff going on. Like there's some Christmas themed things in there that people never see. And apparently George Romero was dressed up as Santa Claus, as one of the bikers. And all of that footage was cut out of the movie because he thought like, oh, this is going to set it in a certain time frame or a certain time of the year. And he didn't want that. But technically Dawn of the Dead could have been considered a Christmas movie.
Well, God damn it is now because I watched it.
So
there you go. One closing thing before we move on. You got to be concerned about people too. And
we're still on this, Dan. Dan, we've already moved on.
I think I want
Dan relates to the Hare Krishna zombie the most.
The ultimates. Well, okay. I don't get that. So, all right. which character do you relate to the most? I don't think anybody's going to have my answer to this. I could be wrong. So I'll go first, if you don't mind. All right. I relate most to Johnny. Think about it. He didn't want to go somewhere.
You're Mr.
A
Cooper.
woman drags him there against his will, and bitches the whole time just because you're trying to amuse yourself with a little bit of practical jokery, which I like to do from time to time. Didn't even let the poor bastard get his chocolate. I mean, come on. Denied him chocolate on top of it. Didn't want to go, middle of nowhere, no beer.
So in other words, Pugs is right. You'd be the first one dead. So thanks. That's
Well, you might as well relate to doesn't mean I am.
You're ignorant.
see.
But I'm just saying.
Okay.
Zombie didn't kill him. Beauty killed the Johnny.
Huh?
And Dan wonders why he's single.
Like, did this just get incestuous for a second here?
Well, it was a King Kong reference, but
I know the reference. I know that, but
still
aren't they brother
woman.
and sister?
Yeah.
Woman, yes, but still, woman dragged him there. It's her fault. She got Johnny.
No. One, she did not drag him there. They're going to see like the mother's grave or father's grave.
But
Father's
he just
grave.
went, and he didn't.
But you know what? He was bitching.
Beer.
He was bitching the whole time, like someone's going to do if they have to drive 6 hours. So,
Yeah.
You can't drag. Well, one, if you're a man, you can't get dragged by anyone anywhere. You're choosing to go. So,
Yeah, kind
Oh
of.
boy. Oh, shit.
Just saying.
We need to get away from this conversation right now.
all right, Chris, which character do you relate to the most?
I relate to probably I relate to Bub. Fuck everybody. No, I'm kidding. No.
Okay.
I honestly, I probably relate to Sarah. I feel like that what she wanted to do would have been, she was trying to figure out what was going on and how to stop it. I think that's what, I would want. I would want someone to be able to do that and have tools and resources to do it.
All right. Well, I'll go. No shocker. I'd be Peter. I think the fact that he has a plan, but he also goes with the flow, kind of, something I would do. So I think that's why I relate to him the most.
Awesome. I was going back and forth between Peter and Ben. I'm still not 100%.
Dan's like, well, it had to be one of the two.
Because I would like to think I would be able to survive more like Peter, but I think being surrounded by dumbasses, I get fucked in the end. So I'm gonna go Ben.
Also,
right.
Cooper brought down by a woman. Just saying.
What in the fuck?
Dan doesn't understand. He's so gonna get. What is it? Not Me Too. The other one
Canceled.
Well, that too. He's well, here we go. This is
his time's up.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of.
What
All
in
right.
gay hell? What the fuck am I doing here?
All right. Well, here's one I know you'll be interested in talking about. The original Night of the Living Dead versus the remake. So let's just kick it off with that. I know, Chris, you're one who prefers the remake to the original.
I am.
So why don't you kick it off?
All right. Yeah. I mean, I full disclosure, I love the original Night of the Living Dead, but there's one of the, I guess, prime examples I can use as to why I feel like the remake works better is when I was in high school, I wrote a short story that was based, ironically, and now I feel like I need to, not admit this, but just add fuel to Dan's fire. But it was based on what happens to Johnny after he is his head is hit on the tombstone, because I never thought that should have killed him. I always thought maybe he stumbled away and found himself in another situation where he died and became a zombie. And my teacher liked the story so much she wanted to read it to the class, and then in turn she wanted to show the movie. So I was like,
Right on,
okay,
Chris.
that's pretty fucking cool, you know. So if we started watching I brought in the colorized version of the original because I knew a black and white movie for a bunch of 17, 16-year-olds was never gonna work. And as we're watching it, like no one's watching this fucking movie. Like they're all just like, you know, shooting the shit. They're writing in their notebooks. Like no one's paying attention. And it's like, and I asked her, I said, look, they remade this. Can I bring the remake in tomorrow? Because it was like a Thursday and, you know, Friday was right before summer. So she was like, yeah, bring the remake and it's fine. 3 minutes into the remake, the entire class just didn't make a sound. Once that first zombie showed up, it was like everybody was just stuck to the screen for the rest of the fucking movie. And it's a much more intense and a much more just, you know, the flow was a lot better. You know, in the original, there's this kind of spot where after Ben bores up the house, the movie kind of pauses for a while. It's really just kind of people sitting in a room talking for a good like 15, 20 minutes. And then they formulate an escape plan and then it picks back up again. The remake is just constant go, 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 but you don't even realize that that's happening. You're still getting all the beats of the original, but it's being fed to you a little bit quicker and you're getting more going on while all that's happening. And I love the idea that all of the characters are like involved in boarding up the house. It's not just one guy doing that in a matter of a couple of hours. It's the entirety of the household basically, you know, helping them out. And I think the zombies in the remake are just awesome. They just look phenomenal. The makeup in the remake is it's perfect. There's not a single bad makeup in that whole movie.
You can definitely see they took what the original had to offer and improve spots that, you know, needed a little bit more. Like you mentioned, the lull in that 15, 20-minute conversation. But you can see where they took the idea and just improved on it, where I think that's why this one is a remake a lot of people really enjoy. That often gets left out of like those, like these are the top 3 remakes or top 4 remakes, but it's up there with them, you know. It is, you know, you mentioned the gore. Still would like to see that gorier cut that we never will. There's a book about it too that recently came out.
Yeah, Tom Savini put out all the storyboards.
I do prefer the original, but I really like the remake. And when I watched all these films this time, I found watching Night of the Living Dead after Day of the Dead is kind of like a transition between the two. And I like the way it like flowed that way. So if I do revisit the series, which I'm sure I will, I'm definitely going to do that again.
So did you watch Day of the Dead and then the remake of Night, or the remake of Night and then Day?
I watched Night.
Confused.
Okay, I watched Night, the original, Dawn, Day, Night, 1990, then Land.
So you watched them in order.
Yeah,
Okay.
I watched them in release order. That's what
Gotcha.
it is.
Okay. The other thing too that I want to touch on, the remake that I think did miles better than the original, is obviously the Barbara character.
Well, we're gonna get to that. More specifics in that one.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just say that briefly then. I think what they did with her was a lot better than what they did in the original.
Okay. What about you two? What do you guys think? An original or remake?
I'm an original man. I
kind of figured you both picked that as your favorite. So.
Yeah, it laid the ground, the blueprints for, you know, the updates. I won't say improvements, but some of them are improvements. I co-sign with Chris on the Barbara thing, but we'll get there. But yeah, the original still blows me away every fucking time. Every time.
It doesn't feel certainly like you're just watching the same movie, which is a plus with a remake for sure. I am the original, obviously, but the one thing that I think the remake doesn't do as well is...
Wait, is it going to be a question we're going to talk about later, Dan?
No.
Okay.
Is Cooper. I think Cooper was there. He was just a straight up villain pretty much in the remake. And I kind of liked I don't know. I liked his
He
presence.
was in the original too. I didn't. Yeah,
No,
I
he
think they,
I wouldn't
And,
consider him a
and
villain.
Dan says he relates to Johnny.
well, that's
Fucking
why.
guy.
So that
like you're Cooper.
But
all
he
the way
was
there.
dead.
Trying to have a
He-
good time, and it was ruined.
Dan's like the old white guy was not the fucking hero of this movie. What are you telling
He
me?
was a straight up villain. If you go back and watch that first one, maybe a bit of a dick.
Dan, we all just did.
See it the way I do.
No, again,
I love Tom Tolles, but he was
I do too.
a more standard villain.
I can't disagree with you more on that one. I think they amplified every character a bit more, but I don't think he was any more. He still cared about his daughter more than he cared about his wife, and I think that's true in both movies. I think they did make him a little more unlikable, especially the scene where he's trying to get the gun from Barbara and he's just going to kind of let her get, taken by the zombies. But I mean, I think if, even in the original, that scene sort of presents itself where he tells Helen to get in the basement. He doesn't say, Barbara, get down there, or Helen, get down there. Like, he's holding Ben at gunpoint. Like, you're not, fuck it. You get to stay up here and I'm going to take my wife and go downstairs and you two are fucked. He was totally ready to leave those two upstairs to get eaten. And the only reason he didn't get to is because Ben stopped him. So in the remake, I really feel like he was along the same lines. Everybody in the remake was just kind of amplified. I mean, they were just a little bit more, because even Ben is far more intense in the remake.
On that,
Ben
let's just go right to Ben versus Ben.
Well, Ben in the remake actually is kind of more of an asshole than he is in the original, because right away he's at Harry's throat, telling him, "Look, I don't like you. Just stay the fuck out of my way." At least in the original, there's like a little bit of a back and forth before they're like, "Yeah, we're probably not going to be friends here." And they don't even kind of come out and say that. It's just kind of like, you go your way, I'll go mine. Ben in the remake is just showed like, you know what? I don't fucking like you. You don't like me. Just stay out of my way. And then like he's creating a lot of the animosity in the remake. The Ben version in the remake, he's slamming the door in, and then he basically tells them, leave the cellar door open because we may want to go down there, after telling Harry we don't want to go down there. So it's like, he's really pushing all of the right buttons to make Harry a much more pissed off character in the remake. So I have to disagree with Harry being worse.
Making everyone uncomfortable.
I know. So you're of the two Bens as you brought them up, which do you prefer? Which actors? Which one do you like better? Let's just go there. It's a harder one, isn't it?
No, because for me it's. I mean, Tony. I think Tony Todd does phenomenal, but I mean, Dwayne Jones was just. I mean, he was wonderful to watch. I mean, he was probably the strongest actor in the original film. That is a tough one. Yeah.
I'm Dwayne. Yeah. I love Tony Todd, but Dwayne seemed like he had a cooler head on his shoulders.
That's what I was going to say.
He had to get shit done, and I want to do. That's what I want to do. He wasn't listening to NWA the entire time of the getting all amped up.
Yeah, it was just that coolness, and it was just more level-headed, and it like his performance. That was a hard role for Tony Todd to have to do, because that is a very iconic role, especially for a black actor. But Tony Todd's so good in that one too. It's just a different take on the character, which and this makes sense. And we'll get on to another different take shortly. Do you guys? Do you have anything, Dan? Ben versus Ben.
Well, I'm a Dwayne Jones guy. I think, in a way, Tony Todd's Ben, and again, it's not. Tony Todd's one of the best actors there is, period. But some of the character traits actually kind of mirror somebody we're going to talk about later. He's a little more, like you said, kind of stirring the shit. But yet again, the Dwayne Jones character does cause a lot of problems by bad decisions. But he's the typical hero for sure, more so in the original.
No.
So yeah,
I think the bad decisions that Ben makes in the original is just I don't feel like it's I feel like it's anyone in that type of situation not really knowing what to do, but just kind of going with what they think is the best thing to do. Because we can sit here all day long and say that in this scenario we would do X, Y, and Z, but until we're faced with it, we don't know what we would do. There's a lot of people that'll talk a big game, like if somebody ever got in my face, I would do this and do that, but it's like then that happens, and all of a sudden it's like, yo man, calm down. It's like that keyboard warrior syndrome where you're going to get rough and tough with someone, and then all of a sudden that person's ready to rumble, and you're just like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. You know what I mean? So. Right. There's I think that both versions of Ben and Harry, they dealt with this unbelievable situation that they sort of found themselves stuck in, and with people that they don't know and people that they aren't really comfortable around for one reason or another. It just dealt with it the best way that they could in whatever was being thrown at them. I think everything in the remake, like I said, was kind of dialed up to 11, so all of the intensity was really just there. But like I said, Ben's immediately in the remake is pushing Harry's buttons of just like, fuck you, dude, I don't like you.
And maybe he was there first in the remake versus
yeah.
In the original,
so,
see Cooper, it's like, well, these are just people that came in and now maybe putting me at risk. That's another reason you can understand Cooper in the original.
Yeah.
Let's transition to Barbara.
Yes.
Since I know that one will be interesting, and I know some of your guys' answers, some I'm curious on. So, OG Barbara versus new Barbara, or well, not really new now. Which Barbara do you guys like better?
I'll go. I like remake Barbara way better. She's not as shell shocked as the other one, and like she actually contributes into helping. And I think honestly, the best team up would have been OG Ben and remake Barbara. I think they would have survived. So.
I thought the original was a little more realistic. So, which do I like better? That's hard. The remake is such 90s. That was the thing to make the women like that.
Ripley, Linda Hamilton.
Ripley, yeah. So I don't know. I don't love that, but I don't hate that. If I'm just going what I think would really happen, I'm going to go the original. But I don't love either Barbara.
Oh, that was an option?
No.
Fuck those bitches.
but if I'm choosing one, I'm actually go original.
Okay.
Dan's like
my
neither
favorite.
Man.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Mr. Cooper all the way.
Mr. Cooper's wife. Daughter.
If you just ditched women, Cooper'd be living it up with me on the island. We'd be like just having a blast. But of course, they ruined that with Johnny. Be awesome. But anyways, OG Barbara is really just kind of hysterical. She's not a strong character. I like Judith May. She played it well, like Todd said, realistic. You would be jealous. I think just anybody would be, unless you're just
Dan would be the exact same way. Actually, I want to see it.
No, Dan would be running. I would make logical.
I want to see a deep fake of Dan as Barbara in Night of the Living Dead.
It'd be even more complex. But anyways. Yeah, it's weird though in terms of like the actresses.
I know it's a hard one.
I would have liked to have seen what it would have looked like if Judith O'Dea were playing Patricia Tallman's version. How that would have come off for some reason. But yeah, I don't know.
I think they're both a product of their times. Like, doesn't OG Barbara get smacked around too?
She does. Yeah, she does get. Actually, Dwayne Jones was terrified that of doing that. Because he didn't think that they understood like what they were asking him to do when they told him, you got to slug her. And they were like, he's like, you want me to hit this white woman? Like, I'm gonna get fucking killed. Yeah, and they were like, no, you got to do it. Cause she's hysterical. You got to get her out. You got to do something to get her out of it. And he fucking punches her. He doesn't just slap her. He fucking punches her in the face. And I'm like, that wasn't even open fisted or anything. That was closed fisted shit.
Sometimes you got to Sean Connery a woman.
I get it. But if I was going to pick, I would pick remake Barbara because I feel like remake Barbara was less of a set piece. In the original Night of the Living Dead, Barbara becomes I mean, essentially, a crash test dummy could have stood in for, and nobody would have known the difference. She doesn't become a character anymore, and there's, like I said, that midway point of the movie where everyone's kind of hanging out and talking, and she's just sort of there. And I think the Barbara that has that because she has that in the remake where she's sort of like, she's stuck in this sort of kind of frantic state, and Ben snaps her out of it. It's like, you have to get out of this if you want to make it through this. And I love that at that point, what, zombies had been around for like, or Romero zombies, 68, so in like 1990, 20 years. One character finally realizes how slow they are and says we could just walk right around them and we wouldn't have to even run. We could just walk right past them. And it's like, oh my God, in 20 fucking years, somebody finally figures it out. Why y'all running? Like, you don't need to. And I love that scene with her with the zombie carrying the baby doll. I think that was a really poignant scene. And there's a lot of raw emotion there. I just think that really spoke volumes for how strong of an actress Patricia Tallman was. Because, I mean, she went through a range of emotions in that movie. And I'm sorry, the scene with the zombie coming through the window and she's just pumping bullet after bullet into it and just like, fuck y'all, this is what's happening and I'm going to prove it to you because this is the only way y'all are going to stop questioning this shit and, just hopefully start working together. You got to see what we're up against, I thought that was great. I love that scene where she's fucking ready to blow that, zombie away. And it was just, she's a phenomenal character in the remake. In the original, she's just kind of there. So.
All right. There and in the way.
All right. Well, then let's jump right to ending versus ending. For these two films. What are you guys feeling on this one? I'm definitely I like the OG ending. I do like the way they changed it up for the remake, but I think it's just the original ending just so much more powerful.
I still remember the first time I saw the original and I laughed my fucking ass off because I was like, God. Really? Like, I thought that was so fucking hysterical. And it's not as funny as it once was, knowing like shit that went down, and real life prejudice and stupid shit like that. But I'm still original. I still find it somewhat humorous and like this is fucked up. You survived all that shit and these assholes are just gonna fucking off you. God damn.
I think again, in terms of how it's aged, that ending now, I mean, my God.
All you need is red and blue lights flashing around.
If they remade it again, I feel like there you go. But yeah, no, I think the original was just a perfect ending. But again, that's not to crap on the remake, because I think you got to do it differently. You can't just do it the exact same way. So I think the right decision was made, and it was emotional.
I would go with the original ending too. I think the original ending is it has that impact that people still, if they've never seen the movie, they still kind of feel like, oh shit, like that's terrible. Like, again, after all of this, that's what ends up happening. That's how it ends, is he's dead. And I love that they were, at one point Romero was approached by Columbia, and they, the Columbia House or Columbia TriStar or whatever they were back then, which is ironic because they ended up producing the remake. But they approached him and said, Columbia Pictures, if you change the ending where Ben lives, then we'll distribute your movie. And he said, no, the point is that Ben was wrong. Ben has to die, because he was actually wrong the entire time. And that's his, that's his sort of atonement for it, is that he has to be killed. And they wouldn't, they didn't distribute the movie. But yeah, I mean, it's very powerful and it's just very impactful.
Absolutely. They need to do another one just from the POV of Cooper.
Dan, you leave. We understand you love POV porn. Don't make it everything. All right. So on that note, we're going to jump right into favorite kill. Dan's going to be somehow a POV kill.
Okay, can I clarify this? Are we doing favorite zombie kill or favorite human kill or favorite kill overall?
Favorite
Because
kill overall.
there's a lot to pick from if we're
Yeah.
mixing them together.
If it's kill and not POV, since Ty called me out on it, I'll go first. Mine would be Jim Crut, the helicopter zombie. Still to this day, that one is just like a shocker when you see it. It's aged so well. So that's
Actually, same. Good
Oh,
call,
really?
Dan. Yeah.
I think I might. I'm shockingly, mine is not from Dawn of the Dead. It's from Day of the Dead, and that is the Rhodes death.
Oh, okay.
Chris,
I was gonna
We
I
can do
was
that
gonna
too.
go with
Shit.
I was gonna I was gonna go with Rhodes too, but actually it is from Day of the Dead. It's Rickles. When Rickles gets his face peeled back and he has that scream, that sort of like that high pitched scream. Like he's laughing, then the laughter turns into screaming, and then it cuts to them just lifting his part of his face up. Every time I ever watch that movie with anybody, and they see that, they all go, "Oh my fucking!" Like they all have the same reaction of "Holy fucking shit! What just happened?" And then even as he's being ripped apart, he's still giggling. It's just like, that to me is when that movie is already kicking into high gear at that point. But that's like, yeah, the shit's really fucking hitting the fan now. That's probably my favorite guy.
Nice.
Awesome.
all right, everyone got their favorite kill in. So I'm going to send it to Chris first because I know the answer. And that is your favorite zombie.
Oh, gee, this is a tough one.
I know. We need
so
to add an
difficult.
extra hour to the show.
I know. How do I pick? Obviously, Bub.
All right.
Bub. But if I couldn't pick Bub, if Bub was off the table, the cemetery zombie from the remake, that zombie I thought was just a cool looking zombie, like the one bug eye that's sticking out. Like it's just very gnarly looking zombie.
Yeah, I don't see how it could be anybody else except Bub. Bub is the best. I love.
All right.
I do love Bub.
I kind of thought this might be a clean win. Dan, what do you pick?
Going against the grain. Once
Mr.
again.
Cooper.
He's gonna pick Johnny again.
My favorite zombie is a bit of a mystery. The bare ass zombie girl from the OG Night of the Living Dead. Nobody knows who she is. Nobody knows who she is. And my reasoning is, I remember watching that the first time, black and white movie, and there's nudity. Iconic. So iconic, even the remake.
Iconic. Nice.
Yeah. The day Dan got his first chubby.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go totally against the grain and actually pick one that I wasn't, little Dan wasn't getting excited about, and that is Zombie Steven. That's my favorite zombie. So
I think he was also Romero's favorite of the zombies that he did. Because he loved what he did with his ankle and the walk that he did.
Awesome.
I know that he was a fan of that.
Then the gun, the whole thing. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite. But Bub would be right under him for me. I don't know where Nude Woman lies in my top 100 zombies, but
Dan's gonna Dan, and I respect him for that.
I'm actually genuinely shocked that none of you picked like the plaid zombie or the nurse zombie or any. You all love Dawn so much, but you didn't pick a Dawn zombie. That kind of surprises me.
I did.
Bub. I'm like, come on.
I did. Zombie Steven.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Fuck. Wow. My brain's.
It's all right.
But Bub, I want to hug Bub. I really want him to work out. I want this man to be cool.
Yeah. Bub. But when I first saw Day of the Dead, I thought the soldiers were the bad guys because they were so nasty to everyone in the movie, and they kill one of the scientists. They lock the other two good people up, and so I was rooting for Bub the entire time, and I was rooting for the zombies. I felt like they were all kind of working together, But I mean, that scene with Bub where he finds Frankenstein dead is just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And also one of the amazing things about that character as a whole is he's the first zombie in the only zombie in any of the Romero movies to speak. And I'm not just talking about the hello Aunt Alicia thing. There's a couple of moments in that movie where he says lines of dialogue, and if you're listening, you can hear them. The first time he meets Sarah, when he scares her, if you listen very carefully, he says, "I'm sorry." And I'm like, I told a friend that, and I played it, and he's like, that was like hearing a ghost. And because you can, once you know it's there, you hear it, and you're like, holy shit. And when Frankenstein turns off the music, he says, "I ain't finished yet."
Yeah.
And like I said, you can hear it, and you're just like, what the fuck? And like Howard Sherman doesn't even remember doing it. He's like, it was a total subconscious thing that he did. So I'm like, that's amazing that you just threw that in there, and then here it is, and here we got the first zombie that's starting to talk and learn how to talk again.
All right, well, now we got a big one. This goes for the series, but the impact on the genre. Did it have an impact? I don't know.
The biggest.
Did it have an impact? Jesus fucking Christ.
The dinosaurs are no longer walking. That's how big the fucking impact is.
They created their own genre of movies. You know what annoyed me? When I was watching the Survival of the Dead Blu-ray, I popped it on. I felt bad for George. The first thing I see is a goddamn trailer for The Walking Dead. I was like,
Sure, yeah.
I'm sorry, George. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, he was happy that Walking Dead was doing well.
He was bitter.
You know,
you could hear him in interviews.
Well,
he would.
well, because I mean, I think he was bitter because he couldn't get another movie off the ground, and the show was doing really well. But he was happy. He was happy for Greg Nicotero, because Greg Nicotero started on Day of the Dead, and he was happy somebody he considered to be a friend was doing well, and finding. I mean, Greg Nicotero wanted him to make episodes. They asked him to direct episodes a bunch of times, and he said no. And of course, there's a number of references to his movies in The Walking Dead. So
don't we have the plaid zombie in there? Speaking of him, you brought him up early. Don't we have
the plaid zombies in there? Bub's in there. I believe the cemetery zombie's in an episode. I mean, Fulci's zombie is in an. There's a nod to that. There's a couple of nods to different zombies, but yeah, I mean, some of them are much clearer than others. But
didn't we have the
creep?
Didn't we have the creep show up in one of them too?
Yeah,
kind.
Yeah, the creep show zombie. Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Romero related, so I thought I'd throw that one out there.
Right. Yeah, the Father's Day zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Walking Dead. I mean, transcending the genre. I mean, we got movies coming now. We've got 2 spinoffs. It's crazy. I mean, you could really make a case that in some ways Romero was one of, if not the most influential on the genre.
Well, there hasn't been a modern monster created since this. So that alone, I mean, you have like a whole genre of monsters, I should say, because you have new ideas, but I mean,
yeah.
But this is, and it is, it's one that got oversaturated for quite a few years, and we're kind of getting a little less now, but we're oversaturated with Walking Dead. But there's still quality stuff out there, but it's a lot harder now because for the past 15 years now, Chris, it's been just a glut of garbage zombie movies that have came out, and you got to wade through them to find the gems.
Train to Busan is a fucking gem.
Yeah.
Well, Train to Busan thankfully found success with word of mouth. I think that largely helped that movie find an audience enough to get a sequel made. I remember when World War Z came out, there was a lot of reservations about that movie too, and that was like a big budget zombie movie that had fucking Brad Pitt in it. Nobody in the horror community was certainly expecting anything out of that, and it was, I think it was really good, but there was a lot of like direct-to-video stuff. Some companies even went as far as repackaging older titles and making them look like modern zombie movies that were. There was that movie Shatter Dead. Does anybody remember that? The Scooter McCree movie. There's a later reissue of that where it has these like zombies all over the cover. And actually, one of the zombies is a friend of mine because he went on a zombie walk, and it was very clear the company just Googled zombies and found public domain pictures of zombies and made a cover out of it. And you know, so it was like, oh look, dude, you're on the front of a movie, and he's like, holy shit, I am, you know, there's no zombies in that, no traditional zombies in that movie.
Yeah.
So everybody was trying to really capitalize on what Walking Dead was doing, and just create. I mean, you could make a, you could sort of make a collage of all the generic looking zombie movie posters and covers that were coming out in the wake of Walking Dead.
Shattered. I know. Early one, like 2002.
Yeah, that's one of Dan's favorite. He loves the use of the BB gun in that one.
I don't remember
Which one?
that well.
No. Okay, we'll do it later. You're not missing anything,
Okay.
but yeah. So
yeah, I mean, there was a time when zombie bloodbath. I mean, you're like, oh my god. So yeah, it did happen on delay though. I mean, that's the interesting thing. It's not like, you know, the Romero zombies completely exploded right away. So,
well, I mean, and also in fairness too, like I think people back then, especially in the late 60s, early 70s, they wanted to make their own thing. There wasn't a lot of people trying to roll over somebody else's stuff and make it, you know, I mean, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things is the next like flesh-eating zombie movie in the canon, and that was made in 1972. Mm-hmm. So it was a few years after that, and I think they kind of waited for the dust to settle to be like, okay, now we want to make this and rip it off. I mean, Bob Clark and Alan Ormsby very clearly said that was their intent. They wanted to rip off Night of the Living Dead, and George Grau with Let Sleeping Corpses Lie was the same thing. We're making Night of the Living Dead, but this time we're doing it in color. You know, so and they were still very new. Zombies were still like, they were called ghouls in Night of the Living Dead, so they weren't really zombies, but now they were calling them zombies, so everyone just kind of ran with it. It really, even after Dawn of the Dead, there wasn't anything like immediately. You know, like zombie was the closest thing you could get, you know, but zombie was in production while they were making Dawn of the Dead. So,
but you know the difference though between why we didn't have a glut of them then to why we got a glut of them in starting in like the early 2000s.
They're easier to make,
and because people weren't shooting on film at this point, so you could grab any kind of camera. It didn't have to be film. When you're talking about shooting a zombie film in, you know, the 80s, you had a film. It was a serious commitment. You couldn't do it on the cheap. Like, well, you could do it on the cheap, but you couldn't do it on the cheap that they do in the early 2000s.
I was going to say Curse of the Screaming Dead would beg to differ.
I was going to say there are some, but I mean, overall, I mean, you had to invest the money into it. Where in the 2000s, you can make a zombie movie for a couple grand and get a Lionsgate distribution deal.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference.
Oh yeah, it was much easier, you know, I mean, especially when the shot on video stuff started becoming more prevalent, and people realized if they had a camcorder, they could make a movie, and there was a really good chance that somebody would see it. You know, there's a lot of for a while, and I think Dan and I have talked about this off the air, but for a long time, if you wanted to see a new zombie movie, you were effectively watching something that somebody made in their backyard with some friends and a camcorder for around $300 or $400 that somehow found its way into your hands. There wasn't like the 90s was one of the worst time frames for zombie movies, because even the remake of Night of the Living Dead was received with a lukewarm reception. It didn't break box office records. I didn't think it opened at number 1. I think it opened at like number 6 or something that.
I think that was confusion.
Yeah, well, I can say that that's true, but then you have like Return of the Living Dead 3 that was basically direct to video. Cemetery Man like was a blip in theaters for a second. You know, like zombies were not making money at the theaters; they were making money on video. So they stuck to that sort of, you know, that nature. It wasn't until Resident Evil came out and made money that someone went, "Oh, there might be something zombies might be back in again," because that's when, you know, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre was remade, and then Dawn of the Dead was remade, and Dawn of the Dead was huge. It was a huge success. And then Land of the Dead came out and wasn't a huge success, and then they went back to video again. They didn't really.
We'll talk about some of the other, you know, other zombie movies, unofficial stuff, and our we will do another Dead show. It just won't be a Romero Dead show.
It's a lot.
But yeah, there definitely is. Okay, gentlemen. Well, we're coming close to.
We are.
So, anything else we didn't touch that you wanted to touch upon?
About movies, Dan, not about other.
Yeah.
Children.
I think we covered pretty much everything. You can do a whole show just on
Each film.
Night of the Living Dead ones, just with that title at this point.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, no, I think we covered just about everything. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
No, just make sure you watch at least the first 3 movies. They're fucking amazing.
Yes.
But yeah, you can't really go wrong popping all of these. Maybe spread them out a little more than we did this time.
I had no, you know what? I watched the first 3, no issues, but I get it where you,
Yeah.
With
And
the-
all,
Did you?
because I was able to watch all 3 cuts back to back. Well, not
Yeah.
back to back, but like a 2 one day and then the last one of
Right.
Dawn of the Dead. But like all the like I can watch that anytime.
Yeah.
Any of the first anytime it's on, yeah, I'm gonna have a good time. But like once you get past that, it's like, oh, no, it's a little rough.
Yeah. I mean, actually, for me, Land of the Dead played a lot better than it did when I watched it this time than when it came out. I really wasn't a fan of Land when it came out, and when I watched it recently, I was like, huh. George Romero was a time traveler. This wasn't Bush. This was Trump. So
He knew. He knew.
He knew.
More Cheney
What could
than anything though. Hopper was more Cheney to me.
I got the ivory tower. The money means everything.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
the racism. Like I was like, yeah, this is we're really like this is what we're dealing with right now, and that's why I think for me, Land was a little bit higher because I feel like Land, like Day, as time progresses, it becomes more prevalent. You start to see, like, it's almost like that those movies didn't find their, and Survival didn't find their audiences when they came out because the world wasn't really ready for them then. Now that all this shit's happening, we're like, holy fuck, this was pretty relevant back then. It's just as relevant now. And you can kind of see that underlying, for lack of a better word, genius of it, that like there really was, that these movies really do carry the same weight that they did when they were released, if not better than they did when they were released. So anyway, but yeah, so.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so yeah, guys, be sure to like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube because it very much helps our channel. And also fleshwoundfeatures.com. Check out the eBay store. And Pugs, good sir, send us home.
All right. And you can support us on Patreon, where you can get exclusive and early content. And most importantly, uncensored. You can witness Dan act even more foolish there. So please help.
Yeah, check out the Uncut Hitchcock show.
Yeah, pretty great. And then you can follow us across all the social media bullshits, every last one of them. Just search our name and we'll be there. So, gentlemen, everyone say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
And when there's no more
Good
room in
night.
hell, the Dans will stock the playgrounds. Adios.
I was gonna say one for the fire.
We'll rule the island. God damn it.
Epstein Island.
God, this fucking island.